RT, the way it should be. Dear listener, welcome to the Practical Audio Study Aid for Fixed-Wing Pilots. We have covered as broad a spectrum of radio telephony procedures and related scenarios as possible, from routine to emergency transmissions, and most everything in between. We believe that by applying the procedures as demonstrated in this recording, your radio work will be significantly improved, and your confidence levels boosted. Fixed Wing RT. Exercise 1. Establishing contact.
Ground, good day. This is Zulu Sierra, India Delta Lima.
India Delta Lima, ground, go ahead.
India Delta Lima, 2 people on board. At the hangars, request taxi for circuits and landings at the airfield.
India Delta Lima, taxi via Juliet to the holding point on Echo, QNH 1021.
Taxi via Juliet to the holding point on Echo, QNH 1021, India Delta Lima.
Approaching a holding point.
India Delta Lima, ready for departure, contact Tower 118.1.
Contact Tower 118.1, India Delta Lima.
Contact Tower for departure.
Tower, India Delta Lima at the holding point, ready.
India Delta Lima, cleared for takeoff, surface wind 090 degrees, 15 knots, report left-hand downwind.
Cleared for takeoff, report left-hand downwind, India Delta Lima.
On downwind.
India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, report final.
Report final, India Delta Lima.
On final.
Tower, India Delta Lima, final.
India Delta Lima, clear touch and go, surface wind 090 degrees, 12 knots.
Clear touch and go, India Delta Lima.
On downwind, positioning for a full stop landing.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind, full stop.
India Delta Lima, report final.
Report final, India Delta Lima.
On final.
Tower, India Delta Lima, final.
India Delta Lima, cleared to land, surface wind 090 degrees, 10 knots.
Cleared to land, India Delta Lima.
Once the aircraft has landed.
India Delta Lima, taxi right at Delta, runway vacated, contact ground 121.9.
Taxi right at Delta, runway vacated, contact ground 121.9, India Delta Lima.
Contacting ground once the runway has been vacated.
Ground, India Delta Lima, vacated on Delta, request taxi back to the hangars.
India Delta Lima, taxi via Delta and Juliet to the hangars.
Taxi via Delta and Juliet to the hangars, India Delta Lima.
And just for fun.
Tower, Alpha Bravo Charlie, final approach.
Alpha Bravo Charlie, no need to acknowledge, cleared to land, surface wind 150 degrees, 10 knots.
Clear to land, no need to acknowledge, Alpha Bravo Charlie.
Exercise 2. Different scenarios at the holding point. Scenario 1.
Tower, India Delta Lima, ready.
India Delta Lima, behind the departing Cessna, line up and wait behind.
Behind the departing Cessna, line up and wait behind, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 2. At the holding point.
Tower, India Delta Lima, ready.
India Delta Lima, are you ready for an immediate?
Affirm, India Delta Lima.
India Delta Lima, without stopping on the runway, cleared for immediate takeoff, surface wind 090 degrees, 08 knots.
Cleared for immediate takeoff without stopping on the runway, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 3. At the holding point.
Tower, India Delta Lima, ready.
India Delta Lima, hold your position.
Holding position, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 4. At the holding point.
Tower, India Delta Lima, ready.
India Delta Lima, caution jet blast, behind the departing Boeing, line up and wait behind.
Caution jet blast, behind the departing Boeing, line up and wait behind, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 5. At the holding point.
Tower, India Delta Lima, ready.
India Delta Lima, standby.
Standing by, India Delta Lima.
Hotel 2 Tango, information Bravo, QNH 1021, cleared for liftoff, surface wind calm, cross runway 09, route 2, threshold 16, hovering training not above 500 feet, maintain a listening watch, report complete.
Cleared for liftoff, QNH 1021, cross runway 09, route threshold 16, hovering training not above 500 feet, will maintain a listening watch and report complete, Hotel 2 Tango.
India Delta Lima, line up and wait.
Line up and wait, India Delta Lima.
And just for fun.
Tower, Alpha Bravo Charlie, be advised there is a flock of guinea fowl on the runway at the intersection.
Alpha Bravo Charlie copied, we will be sending out the fire truck.
Negative tower, they are not on fire, they are just walking around.
Exercise 3. Different scenarios on departure. Scenario 1.
India Delta Lima cleared for takeoff, surface wind calm, maintain runway heading, standby crosswind turn.
Cleared for takeoff, maintain runway heading, standby crosswind turn, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 2 on departure.
India Delta Lima cleared for takeoff, surface wind calm, caution wake turbulence, proceeding departing jet, rotated at the end of the runway.
Cleared for takeoff, copy the wake, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 3 on departure.
India Delta Lima, the preceding aircraft is remaining in the circuit, cleared for takeoff, surface wind 070 degrees 12 knots.
Cleared for takeoff, copied the preceding traffic, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 4 on departure.
India Delta Lima cleared for takeoff, surface wind 060 degrees 17 knots, report right hand downwind.
Cleared for takeoff, report right hand downwind, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 5 on departure.
India Delta Lima cleared for takeoff, surface wind 080 degrees 10 knots, early left hand turnout, report downwind.
Cleared for takeoff, will turn out early left and report downwind, India Delta Lima.
Scenario 6 on departure.
India Delta Lima cleared for takeoff, surface wind 100 degrees 12 knots, simulated engine failure approved, report recovered.
Cleared for takeoff, approved and will report when recovered, India Delta Lima.
Following the simulated engine failure,
Tower, India Delta Lima, recovered.
India Delta Lima report left hand downwind.
Report left hand downwind, India Delta Lima.
and just for fun,
Alpha Bravo Charlie cleared to land. Caution, there's a very large eagle about halfway up the runway on the side.
Cleared to land, Alpha Bravo Charlie.
Alpha Bravo Charlie, can you see what the eagle is doing?
Watching how it's supposed to be done.
Exercise 4. Different scenarios on downwind call. Scenario 1.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, do one orbit to your right.
One orbit to my right, India Delta Lima.
After completing the orbit,
India Delta Lima, re-established on downwind.
India Delta Lima, report final.
Report final, India Delta Lima.
downwind call. Scenario 2.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, continue orbiting to your right on downwind.
Continue orbiting to my right, India Delta Lima.
Tower instructs you to complete orbiting.
India Delta Lima, on completion of next orbit, continue on downwind.
On completion of next orbit, will continue on downwind, India Delta Lima.
Downwind call. Scenario 3.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, extend your downwind leg, stand by base turn.
Extend downwind, stand by base turn, India Delta Lima.
Tower instructs you to turn base.
India Delta Lima, turn base leg, report final.
Turn base leg, report final, India Delta Lima.
Downwind call. Scenario 4.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, continue on downwind. Report once you have a Cherokee on final, runway 19 in sight.
Will extend downwind and report once I have traffic on final, runway 19 in sight, India Delta Lima.
Traffic in sight.
Tower, India Delta Lima has traffic on final 19 in sight.
India Delta Lima, report final number 2 to traffic on final.
Will report final number 2 to traffic on final, India Delta Lima.
Downwind call. Scenario 5.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, report final approach number 2, number 1 ahead of you on late downwind.
Report final approach number 2, India Delta Lima.
Downwind call. Scenario 6.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, extend your downwind leg. Report once you have a Seneca on final, runway 19 in sight.
Extend downwind leg, looking for traffic. Will report once traffic in sight, India Delta Lima.
If you do not have the traffic in sight,
Tower, India Delta Lima on late downwind. Still do not have traffic in sight.
India Delta Lima, traffic in your 11 o'clock high on 3 mile final.
India Delta Lima, still do not have traffic in sight.
India Delta Lima, do one orbit to your right.
One orbit to my right, India Delta Lima.
orbit complete.
India Delta Lima, orbit complete.
India Delta Lima, turn base leg, report final.
Turn base, report final, India Delta Lima.
Downwind call. Scenario 7.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, runway change, runway 019 use. Surface wind 010 degrees, 15 knots. Do a 180 to your right. Report re-established right-hand downwind, runway 01.
180 to my right, report re-established right-hand downwind, runway 01, India Delta Lima.
Downwind call. Scenario 8.
Tower, India Delta Lima, downwind.
India Delta Lima, can you make a short approach?
India Delta Lima, affirm.
India Delta Lima, make a short approach, report final.
Make a short approach, will report final, India Delta Lima.
And for fun?
Alpha Bravo Charlie, previous aircraft reports a dead dog on taxiway Charlie, advises bear to the left.
Copy Tower, we see the dead dog, looking for the bear.
Exercise 5. Different scenarios on final call. Scenario 1.
Tower, India Delta Lima, final approach.
India Delta Lima, continue approach, 1 ahead to vacate the runway.
Continuing approach, India Delta Lima.
Final call, Scenario 2.
Tower, India Delta Lima, final approach.
India Delta Lima, continue approach, expect late landing clearance, 1 ahead doing a touch and go.
Continue approach, expect late landing clearance. Copy the traffic, India Delta Lima.
Final call, Scenario 3.
Tower, India Delta Lima, final approach.
India Delta Lima, go around, I say again go around, report left hand downwind.
Going around, will report left hand downwind, India Delta Lima.
Final call, Scenario 4.
Tower, India Delta Lima, final approach.
India Delta Lima, continue approach number 2, number 1 short final.
Continue approach number 2, India Delta Lima.
Final call, Scenario 5.
Tower, India Delta Lima, final approach.
India Delta Lima, clear touch and go, surface wind 320 degrees, 10 knots, report right hand downwind.
Clear touch and go, will report right hand downwind, India Delta Lima.
Just for fun,
Tower, give me a rough time check please.
Alpha Bravo Charlie, it's Wednesday.
Exercise 6. At the holding point, ready for departure. Scenario 1.
Tower, India Delta Lima, at the holding point on Bravo, ready.
India Delta Lima, cleared for takeoff, surface wind calm, left hand turnout, route towards Black Hill at 1500 feet, squawk 4412, report zone boundary.
Cleared for takeoff, left-hand turnout, routing Black Hill, 1500 feet, squawk 4412, will report zone boundary, India Delta Lima.
At the holding point, ready for departure. Scenario 2.
Tower, India Delta Lima, at the holding point on Bravo, ready.
India Delta Lima, cleared for takeoff, surface wind light and variable, maintain runway heading, climb to 1500 feet, stand by left hand turnout.
Cleared for takeoff, maintain runway heading, climbing to 1500 feet, stand by left-hand turnout, India Delta Lima.
At the holding point, ready for departure. Scenario 3.
Tower, India Delta Lima, at the holding point on Bravo, ready.
India Delta Lima, cleared for takeoff, surface wind 080 degrees, 11 knots, left hand turnout, route towards Afro Hills at 1500 feet, report zone boundary. Traffic is a R-22 helicopter routing inbound to the airfield from Afro Hills, maintaining 1000 feet.
Cleared for takeoff, left-hand turnout, route towards Afro Hills at 1500 feet. Report zone boundary, copy traffic, looking out, India Delta Lima.
At the holding point, ready for departure. Scenario 4.
Tower, India Delta Lima, at the holding point on Bravo, ready.
India Delta Lima, confirm you're ready for an immediate departure.
India Delta Lima, affirm.
India Delta Lima, cleared for an immediate takeoff without stopping on the runway, surface wind light and variable, maintain runway heading, climb to 1500 feet, stand by left hand turnout.
Cleared for an immediate takeoff, maintain runway heading, climb to 1500 feet, stand by left-hand turnout, India Delta Lima.
At the holding point, ready for departure. Scenario 5.
Tower, India Delta Lima, at the holding point on Bravo, ready.
India Delta Lima, cleared for takeoff, surface wind 080 degrees, 11 knots, left hand turnout, route towards Afro Hills at 1500 feet, squawk 7412, report zone boundary.
Cleared for takeoff, left-hand turnout, route towards Afro Hills at 1500 feet, squawk 7412, report zone boundary, India Delta Lima.
Just for fun,
Alpha Bravo Charlie, do 2 orbits to your left.
Tower, are you aware that it costs us an extra 300 Rand per orbit in this machine?
Alpha Bravo Charlie, in that case, give us 600 Rands worth of orbits.
Exercise 7. Leaving the zone boundary. Scenario 1.
Tower, India Delta Lima, approaching zone boundary.
India Delta Lima, squawk standby, monitor broadcast TBA.
Squawk standby, monitor broadcast TBA, India Delta Lima.
Leaving the zone boundary. Scenario 2.
Tower, India Delta Lima, approaching zone boundary.
India Delta Lima, broadcast TBA, report returning.
Broadcast TBA will report on the return, India Delta Lima.
Leaving the zone boundary, scenario 3.
Tower, India Delta Lima, approaching zone boundary.
India Delta Lima, broadcast TIBA, monitor tower 118.1. The zone may begin IMC within the hour.
Will broadcast TIBA, monitor 118.1 for possible weather change, India Delta Lima.
Leaving the zone boundary, scenario 4.
Tower, India Delta Lima, approaching zone boundary.
India Delta Lima, monitor broadcast TIBA. Don't forget to cancel search and rescue.
Will monitor and broadcast TIBA, won't forget to cancel search and rescue, India Delta Lima.
Leaving the zone boundary, scenario 5.
Tower, India Delta Lima, approaching zone boundary.
India Delta Lima, monitor broadcast TIBA. Contact approach for climb into the TMA 119.5.
Will monitor and broadcast TIBA, contact approach 119.5 for climb into the TMA, India Delta Lima.
Leaving the zone boundary, scenario 6.
Tower, India Delta Lima, at zone boundary.
India Delta Lima, monitor broadcast TIBA.
Monitor broadcast TIBA, India Delta Lima.
And just for fun,
Alpha Bravo Charlie, expedite your taxi to the hangars. Alpha Bravo Charlie, I say again, expedite your taxi to the hangars.
Tower, what does it mean to expedite?
exercise 8. Transmitting blind in uncontrolled airspace. Scenario 1.
Traffic on 124.4. This is India Delta Lima, Cessna 150 en route from Kimberley to Klippevel. Currently overhead Postflay at 1500 feet on the QNH 1021. Any traffic please acknowledge.
Transmitting blind in uncontrolled airspace. Scenario 2.
Traffic in the Postflay area. This is Cessna India Delta Lima routing from Kimberley to Klippevel at 1500 feet. Any traffic please respond.
Transmitting blind in uncontrolled airspace. Scenario 3.
Traffic routing between Kimberley and Klippevel. This is India Delta Lima, Cessna 150, presently passing overhead Postflay at 1500 feet. Next position report, a beam of Magnidam.
Transmitting blind in uncontrolled airspace. Scenario 4.
Any traffic listening out, this is Cessna India Delta Lima routing from Kimberley to Klippevel at an altitude of 1500 feet. Passing overhead position Postflay at this time, estimating to be a beam of Magnidam at 1425. Any traffic? Kindly respond.
And for fun,
Alpha Bravo Charlie, confirm your intentions.
Tower, intentions strictly honourable.
exercise 9. Joining procedures overhead an unmanned airfield. Approaching the unmanned airfield.
Traffic in the Klippevel area. This is India Delta Lima, Cessna 150, approaching the airfield to join overhead at an altitude of 2500 feet and QNH 1021. Any traffic, please respond.
Overhead the unmanned airfield.
Traffic in the Klippevel circuit. This is Cessna 150, India Delta Lima, overhead the airfield at 2500 feet. Will be descending on the dead west side to position in the circuit runway 25.
At circuit altitude, positioning on the downwind leg.
Traffic in the Klippevel circuit, Cessna 150, India Delta Lima, on left-hand downwind runway 25 for a full stop.
On base leg.
Traffic in the Klippevel circuit, this is India Delta Lima on left base runway 25 for a full stop.
On final approach.
Traffic in the Klippevel circuit, India Delta Lima on final runway 25 for a full stop.
Once you have landed.
Traffic in the Klippevel circuit, India Delta Lima has vacated runway 25.
And for fun,
Airbus on the ramp, confirm. Are you an A320 or an A340?
I'm at A340, of course.
In that case, would you mind starting your other two engines, please?
exercise 10. Departing from an unmanned airfield.
Traffic in the Klippevel circuit. This is Cessna 150, India Delta Lima, backtracking runway 25 for a flight to Kimberley.
Vital actions completed and ready for departure.
Traffic in the Klippevel circuit. This is Cessna 150, India Delta Lima, lining up runway 25. After departure, we'll be turning out left, routing to Kimberley. Any traffic, please acknowledge.
Once airborne and leaving the unmanned airfield circuit.
Traffic in the Klippevel area. This is Cessna 150, India Delta Lima at 1500 feet. leaving the circuit and will continue broadcasting blind on TIBA.
Exercise 11. Different scenarios on returning to controlled airspace. Scenario 1.
Tower, India Delta Lima.
India Delta Lima Tower.
India Delta Lima returning to the airfield at 1500 feet, currently overhead Stanville. Request your joining and landing instructions.
India Delta Lima, join and report right and downwind runway 27, not above 1500 feet, QNH 1021.
Join and report right-hand downwind runway 27, not above 1500 feet, QNH 1021, India Delta Lima.
On returning to controlled airspace. Scenario 2.
Tower, India Delta Lima.
India Delta Lima Tower.
India Delta Lima returning to the airfield at 1500 feet, passing overhead Stanville. Request your joining instructions for one touch and go, followed by a full stop.
India Delta Lima, join and report right and downwind runway 27 at circuit altitude, QNH 1021.
Join and report right-hand downwind runway 27, circuit altitude, QNH 1021, India Delta Lima.
On returning to controlled airspace. Scenario 3.
Tower, India Delta Lima.
India Delta Lima Tower.
India Delta Lima returning to the airfield at 1500 feet, passing a beam of Stanville. Request your joining and landing instructions.
India Delta Lima, remain clear of the CTR, orbit overhead Stanville, QNH 1022, broadcast on relevant TIBA, call back in 5 minutes for possible joining, runway 17 in use.
Remain clear of the CTR. Will continue orbiting overhead Stanville, QNH 1022, broadcasting TIBA. Will give a 5-minute callback, India Delta Lima.
On returning to controlled airspace. Scenario 4.
Tower, India Delta Lima.
India Delta Lima Tower.
India Delta Lima returning to the airfield at 1500 feet, passing a beam of Stanville, squawking 2000. Request your joining and landing instructions.
India Delta Lima, recycle squawk 7414, join and report left and downwind runway 09, 1700 feet, QNH 1022.
Recycle squawk 7414. Will join and report left-hand downwind runway 09 at 1700 feet, QNH 1022, India Delta Lima.
Emergencies. A Mayday example.
Mayday, 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 India Delta Lima engine failure. 3500 feet, carrying out forced landing overhead Damka area. 2 persons on board, half tanks remaining. Any traffic to assist, please respond.
A pan-pan example.
Pan, India Delta Lima, Cessna 150 at 3500 feet overhead Dumka. Have an ill passenger on board, will be carrying out an emergency landing in the area. 2 persons on board, any traffic, please acknowledge.
Doing a radio check. Example 1.
Tower, India Delta Lima, request radio check.
India Delta Lima, strength 4.
Strength 4 copied, India Delta Lima.
Doing a radio check. Example 2.
Tower, India Delta Lima, radio check. How do you read this transmission?
India Delta Lima Tower, transmission strength 5.
Copied, strength 5, India Delta Lima.